the Lakers started 0-2, now they're 1-2, but you don't think the panic meter should be too high. Is that right?
No, no. In terms of stock and finance terminology, I'm a hold on the Lakers right now. I'm not buying a whole lot, and if anything, I'm a short-term buyer of just a small buyer. I wouldn't be putting a whole lot of stock into the Lakers right now, but the fact is, Kobe Bryant's still one of the best players in the league. Pau Gasol, still one of the best big men in the league. And you know what? As we talked about 2 weeks ago, we have no idea what Andrew Bynum is going to do this year. How is he going to respond to the way that the season ended last year? How are the Lakers role players going to do so far? You know, Troy Murphy has proven, if nothing else, that he's a guy that can get rebounds. I think that the Lakers are going to be a middle-of-the-pack Western Conference team. I think that the short season is going to take a toll on Kobe Bryant, turning out 30-point nights. I don't think he'll be able to do that every night.
What are we talking about here, though? What are we talking about? Are we talking like 5th, 6th seed, 7th, 8th seed, or you think they're going to be up in the top 3?
I think that they're a 4 or 5 seed, Matt. Right now, if the season, whenever the season ends, my prediction is that they will be a 4 or 5 seed in the Western Conference. I think that you have to look at the Thunder as being one of the top teams.
Right.
I think that the Mavericks are going to respond.
We don't have them on our docket here today to talk about the Mavericks, but they could be in some trouble.
Could be. They don't look good so far, but 2 games is not a lot in the grand scheme of things. 2 games out of 66 is a very small amount. Dirk Nowitzki, Lamar Odom, Jason Kidd, I know he's definitely toward the end of his career, but this is a team that just won a championship, and I think as Rudy Tomjanovich let us know back in the mid-'90s, never underestimate the heart of a champion. I love that quote. But, clearly they lost some pieces with Tyson Chandler. I think that is what will hurt them most. And when people talk about losing J.J. Barea, definitely a loss. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, but I'm not concerned about that. I'm mostly concerned about Tyson Chandler, and I'm concerned about people saying that Lamar Odom's going to be able to fill the gap. Odom's played very terribly so far this season. He'll probably start picking it up, but they're very different players. But we should probably get back to the Lakers. Okay, so talking about the Lake Show, Bynum comes back. How different is this team? Because I feel like Bynum doesn't he's that big center presence, a lot of rebounds, probably 10 points a game kind of guy. He has the potential to get up to, up in the 20s on a regular basis if he's playing his best. But he's kind of like a 20-10 guy, right? At his best, usually like a 12-10 kind of guy, right? How much does that really change this team? It obviously changes them defensively, but from an offensive perspective, I just don't know where the Lakers are going to get the points to beat these teams. I mean, Kobe's, out there, 28 points, 26 before. I mean, he doesn't have the same kind of equipment that he was working with before. I mean, this isn't the old Kobe. He can't carry this team offensively. I mean, that game against the Bulls are a good defensive team, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's the kind of point totals we're going to be able to see the Lakers score every time out there. They scored 96 against Utah. It's a decent number of points, but they're struggling to get them. And a lot of it is relying on Gasol scoring 22 points in a game, and that's only if he picks up where he left off 2 years ago, not last year. So my question to you is, where are the points going to come from this season to make them an elite Western Conference team?
They're relying heavily on, I don't like to say Meta World Peace, but I'll continue to refer to him as Ron Artest, but Meta World Peace. They're going to rely very heavily on him, and I think that they know right now that long-term they can't do that. He's played okay so far in the first couple of games. Here's the difference that Bynum makes if he's playing at his best. Takes a lot of pressure off of Pau Gasol. Suddenly, you have two 7-footers who you have to deal with. And Pau Gasol has a lot less of a burden on his shoulders, and I think that he really likes being the guy that is not the guy. Clearly, he's not with Kobe Bryant, but having that other big man to help take the burden off of him, I think you're going to see Gasol have a very good year. That's the difference that Bynum makes. And look, if he is healthy, and if he's playing at a high level, he's a really good player. But, we did talk before about Steve Blake picking it up nicely. Matt, I think you look at the 3 position on this team, whether it's Devin Ebanks or Meta World Peace, Ron Artest, that is not a big hole, but it's a weakness for this team. Artest is just not the player that he once was. And, look, it would be nice to get Dwight Howard, and maybe that could be better for them in the long run. But for the time being, I'd be really giving strong consideration to getting that small forward role a little bit more solidified, or at least having a guy that you can trust coming off the bench more than Devin Ebanks.
Yeah. Here we go. I'm gonna give you some teams here, and I want you to tell me, just based on what you've seen in the first 3 games, and we do have to keep in mind that the Lakers were given a back-to-back-to-back. I mean, that's not an easy schedule, but I'm going to give you some teams, and I want you to tell me if the Lakers are going to be above or below them in the playoff seeding when things are said and done. Okay, ready? We'll start out easy. Oklahoma City.
Below.
What?
Below.
Below. Clippers.
I think that the Lakers are going to finish the season pretty darn close to dead even with the Clippers. I am not as high on the Clippers for the whole season that some people are. I'll say that the Lakers will finish above the Clippers, but I think that they will be very, very comparable record-wise.
Spurs.
Above.
Above the Spurs. All right. Denver.
Comparable. Maybe a little bit above.
Okay. Dallas.
Below.
Below. Okay, we'll do one last one. Portland.
I tell you what, this is a team that I really like. They're off to a good start. It's easy to say that through the first 2 games. To answer your question, I'm not going to live in the moment as much. I'll say that the Lakers finish above Portland, but this is a team that I really like a lot, and I know we'll get to that later.